Hello everybody, welcome to another lesson for DUE 10012 Communicative English 1 topic Oral Presentation Skill. So, how do you feel when you want to make an oral presentation? Imagine all eyes on you and you are the center of attraction. The audience are looking at you and trying to listen for your message that you're conveying in your presentation. Are you ready? In this lesson, you'll be able to learn how to present a topic of interest in pairs or in groups, and how do you respond to question and answer session confidently and professionally. So the oral presentation process have to follow a certain flow, and you can use this flow chart. Firstly, greet your audience. Greeting your audience would make your audience feel comfortable listening to your presentation. So what are the greetings that you can use? For example, if you're a Muslim, you can say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And you can also say good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on the time that you're presenting. Or you can just say a lovely day or and a good day to all my friends and lecturers who are here today. Okay. Number two, introduce yourself and pair or group members. So this is very important because when you introduce yourself, you're connecting yourself to your friends as well as in a class to your lecturer. So note that when you are introducing yourself, even though your friends already know who you are, but you are also starting to build your confidence to speak in your oral presentation. The next step is to introduce your topic, stating your objective and use attention grabber. So if you recap on the previous lesson, we have already covered how to make interesting and introduction that appeals to your audience. Right? Next, number 4, explain the structure of your presentation and who will be presenting which part. So this is an outline of your entire presentation. So to have an effective distribution of the points in your group, you need to be able to outline who is going to talk about which point. So if you mention this in your presentation, then audience are keeping track on the parts of your presentation and they are aware of which person will talk about which part. Okay. Number 5, presenting the ideas in the main body, which is your point. Okay. And number 6, conclude your presentation. So this again, you can look at the recap of the previous lesson on how you want to make an effective and a good conclusion to your presentation. Okay, and end your presentation, ending it by thanking your audience for being there and listening to you presenting. Right, and then get into the question and answer session. So this is the basic flow chart that you can use in your oral presentation. Let's look at on some tips on your presentation. So before presenting, you need to make the appropriate preparation. And one of the preparation requires you to dress up nicely or appropriately during the presentation. Because like I mentioned earlier in our previous lesson, 93% of what the listeners are attentive to during your presentation is how you look, your appearance, and also your body language. So that would make one additional attraction for the listeners to listen to your presentation. So do not wear shabby clothes, and you should be well dressed and also well groomed, meaning in terms of your hair, your face are looking very likable for people to look at. Next, avoid gap fillers. So gap fillers are normal in every day that we use, especially when you are shifting yourself to use another language, and you would end up with stuck on what things to say, and that would that would having that gap fillers come into that part. For example, like what I'm doing right now, okay, having gap fillers like okay, okay, like that one. Okay, so try to avoid using and when you're presenting. So you should be able to practice your speech before presenting. Okay, number three tips, which is also under non-verbal communication skill, is maintaining eye contact. So I think that this is the best part for you to connect with your audience. Maintaining eye contact would make you look confident and would also make audience pay very close attention to what you're saying. So look at your audience when you are making your presentation. Avoid reading from the slides, avoid reading from your notes, and do not look at the ceiling or the floor. So looking at your audience would also require you to practice. So how do you practice eye contact? Is you practice in front of a friend. Before you present, find a few friends, sit in front of you. Okay, listen to me presenting. Okay, look them in the eyes. So if you're in a crowd where you already know your friends and you are very comfortable looking at one particular or two particular person in the class, then that's what you do. You look at the person that you feel comfortable looking at. Or another tip is what I learned from back in my days when I'm learning oral presentation skills is looking at one's face, but do not look them directly in the eyes. So you're actually, you're actually covering it up. Okay, maybe what you can do is you look at their forehead, or you look at in between two persons as if you're looking at them. Okay, so play some magic with your eyes. It's very important because it will attract the listeners to listen to your presentation. Okay, next is voice projection. So voice projection is very important because you are delivering your message. And if you don't have a good voice in your presentation, then your message will not be clear. And your audience will not understand your topic. So speak clearly and loudly, and audience will be able to understand your message. All right, next, body language. So as we have already covered in the previous lesson, do not slouch, do not lean, okay, and minimize your movement. So try to stand up comfortably and have natural gestures when you are presenting. Okay, don't read your notes. So I've mentioned this earlier. Okay, if you read your notes, you know that your audience will not be focusing on your presentation anymore. The, the key objective of oral presentation is you are presenting. You are the message. You have the message, not on a piece of paper, but here in your mind, and you are ready to give it to the audience, okay, to present it to the audience. So practice is the key to your preparation. So go and practice at least once before you present. And when you are familiar with your topic, you would know what to say during the presentation. So again, choosing a topic is very important. Choose a topic that you are familiar with, that you can tell that story even without looking at any notes. Or if you need to look, just a slight information or points, then you can elaborate. Okay, it's a topic that you know. Right, next, stick to your topic. Okay, so this is why preparation is important, so that you don't go off tangent on presenting your topic. You avoid giving unnecessary information. Okay, so be precise and organize ideas according to the topic. Okay, this is also very important. Use appropriate language, which means that do not use any bad language, no offensive language. Choose words that are suitable, that are appropriate to your friends' understanding. Okay, and lastly, finish with a strong conclusion. So do not end the presentation without a conclusion, right? So this is how audience remember your presentation. So a good conclusion will make audience remember you. When you're having a group or a pair in presenting your oral presentation, these are some other reminders that you need to take into consideration. Firstly, distribute equal part among the group members for presentation. So if you have a 10 minutes presentation and you have 4 members in the group, so divide it equally to another 2 minutes for Q&A session, right? So do not let one person hog the entire presentation. Next, do not interrupt when your partner or member is giving their presentation. So, if your partner is talking about his or her point, then you need to be quiet and listen, unless if they are stuck. If you see them pausing for a long time and they don't know what to say, then you can step in and try to help him or her out in delivering the points. Okay, if not, do not speak when your friend is speaking. So you have your turn, so make sure that you speak what you want to say during your presentation time. Okay, next, when a person is presenting, the other member assists to control the visual aid. So you take turns. If you're talking, your friend is clicking on the slides. If your friend is talking, then you should be helping out with the slides. Next, do not stand and block the screen. Sometimes you're not aware of where you are standing, so you need to remember that you are not to stand in front of the projector and do not block the screen. Okay, and this is also important. Do not give your back to the audience. So this happens when you keep on looking at your slides on the screen. So don't do this. If you're reading from your slide, then you're giving your back to the audience, okay, which is inappropriate for an oral presentation because your audience should be facing you and not your back. Okay? That is how you differentiate a good delivery in the oral presentation and a not so good. Okay, so you have to be aware of whatever condition that you are before and during your presentation. So these are some pictures of students presenting in a class. So have a good posture, using hand gestures, facing audience, right? So these are the key parts to show that you are confident when you are presenting. This will indeed help you to show that you are positive during presentation, right? So in this picture, you see one student holding a microphone. So when you're holding a microphone, then you need to be aware of your gestures as well as your movement. Your movement might be limited when you're having a podium and you're holding a microphone. So again, she is standing up in a nice posture, looking at the audience, and she is not blocking the screen. Okay, similarly to the male student, right? He is also looking at the audience, looking very dressing smartly. See the difference when you have a good dress, when you dress appropriately for a presentation, it will definitely enhance the audience attention to look at you. So again, that was the first tip that I shared: dress properly. The next subtopic is on handling question and answer session. So let's watch this video. First, when you want to answer a question, you need to be able to listen to the question. Listen to the entire question before you start responding to it. Notes: if you don't listen to the entire question, you may end up not listening to what the person is asking, and you would be giving the wrong responses. So listening is very important if you want to answer question correctly. Second, pause and pose. Pause and allow yourself some time to think. So once you have been asked a question, you just reflect, recall, and understand the question. And you repeat the question again. Pose the question out loud. So that will be confirming to the audience of the question that they are asking you. Next, credit the person who asked. Say, that's a great question. Glad you asked that question. Thank you for that question. Third, respond. Remember that the audience is asking the question based on your topic, so you would know the answers, or you can think about other answers that's relating to it. So just be honest, be clear, and be confident of your answer. So what if you don't know how to answer the question? It's okay. You can just tell the audience the truth. Don't fake the answers by giving unnecessary information and giving, for example, if you're asked numbers, you're giving the false information about the particular topic. Okay, so be honest and tell them you don't know. But you can say that I will try to do some research and I will provide the answers later. Okay? Or if, let's say, in a group and your other friends know the answers, so you can shift the question to your friend. Okay, so you can say, oh, my friend will answer this, right? So work in your team when you are also in the question and answer session. So what do you do when you have answered this question? So don't just stop by saying, okay, that's all. What do you do next is you check if your question is answered. So you ask your audience again, does that answer your question? Is that the kind of information you were looking for? Right? So make an interaction with your audience. Right? Some of us feel nervous when we are asked a question and we want to finish answering it as quickly as we can. It should not be that way in a Q&A session. Okay? So you have to understand the question and answer session is only for the audience to get some clarification of your presentation. And you want your audience to understand your presentation. So you need to give them the clarification. So do not avoid the question and answer session and try to handle all the questions confidently and professionally. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. If you like the content, please give me a thumbs up and do subscribe to the channel. You'll get more input and information on communicative English lesson. Thank you. I'm Ida Muhammad Isa. See you again.